Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a very insightful and inspiring session, a special session of today's talk. And we are featuring the core team from the renowned CancerChoices, a website that most of us has already seen and has been using it in our daily lives, a vital program of the US-based organization from Commonweal. CancerChoices empower cancer patients by offering independent science-backed resources. It is dedicated to guiding patients, caregivers, and healthcare professionals towards informed decisions about combining conventional care, complementary treatment, and self-care. Honored with the highest rating for quality and trustworthiness by the National Cancer Institute in 2022, CancerChoices illuminates paths to improved cancer outcomes. Today, we have our esteemed speakers, Michael Lerner, Christine, and Nancy with us. Michael Lerner is the president and co-founder of Commonweal and a mentor to me, has dedicated over 50 years to cancer care, awarded the MacArthur Prize Fellowship for his contribution in public health. Dr. Lerner's wisdom and radical love have made a significant impact, and we are deeply grateful for his mentorship and ongoing legacy in cancer care. Christine is program director of CancerChoices. She brings her expertise as a clinical herbalist and Reiki master, passionately advocating for holistic health and wellness. And Nancy, she is program manager and lead researcher at CancerChoices, shares her journey and insights from being a caregiver, enhancing the support system for patients and their families. So let's join for this impactful session as we explore the synergy of conventional and complementary care in cancer treatment directly from the pioneers in this field. Thank you. So Christine, if I may request you to share your screen and if you could walk us through. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let me get my screen set up. And I'll begin the presentation.
So this is a message to all the members. We are going through, get a walkthrough of the CancerChoices website, an amazing resource that we use daily in our organization to help and guide cancer patients. This is the most trustful and credible resource I have come across to understand different cancer choices and take very calculative and right decision in cancer care. If you have any question, any doubts, you can write in the chat and we will try our best to answer all the questions. Over to you, Christine. Thank you.
Great. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Dimple. I'm really excited to speak to you all today. So as was mentioned, I'll be giving somewhat of a tour through CancerChoices, just so everyone can become familiar with the resources that we have, and then we'll be sharing some of the website live as well. So a quick note about me, I've recently come onto the program as the program director. I'm based in San Francisco. And in addition to what Dimple mentioned, my studies in clinical herbalism and Reiki, I have a graduate degree from Berkeley in epidemiology and public health. And previous to that, studied molecular biology. So I really love CancerChoices for having a space to come to for the synergy of science and complementary therapies and to be able to share that with the community. The mission of CancerChoices is we're really working to reduce suffering and support healing and encourage resilience among people with cancer. So how we hope to do that is to support people in making skillful choices as they navigate care, and that includes conventional care, complementary care, and self-care. And we have a strong focus on the whole person. So everything that we offer on our website, is designed to really support whole person wellness. And we also want to just raise the legitimacy of integrative care across the ecosystem as well. And we do that through engaging with medical professionals and also providing resources for people with cancer to begin to speak to their practitioners about integrative oncology. Again, also, I just want to share that we provide independent, science-backed, and no-cost resources And we aim to provide those resources to people with cancer, their caregivers, and healthcare professionals. And we really are trying to help all of those people understand what choices they have in integrating conventional care, complementary care, and self-care to really improve cancer outcomes as well as their overall health. And again, just pulling out that we strongly value recognizing the whole person and their innate ability to heal. We are evidence-based, and we have no commercial sponsors in the work that we do. A little bit of history, if you're maybe new to CancerChoices and the work that we're doing. Our founder, Michael Lerner, wrote the book Choices in Healing in 1994, and that was one of the first books to be published on integrative oncology. So it was a really deep look at what are these choices in care and what is available beyond chemotherapy and radiation and surgery that's being offered conventionally. And it's a really amazing book. I would recommend taking a look at it. It's a treat to read Michael's writing as he was exploring this topic. And that was translated into a website, which you might have been familiar with, called Beyond Conventional Cancer Therapies. And in the last year and a half, we've rebranded and expanded the content we're offering under CancerChoices. So that's a little bit of the evolution of where we've come to today. So many hours of work have been put into what we've done over many years. And here's the new homepage of CancerChoices, of the new website, moving beyond BCCT. If you haven't visited yet, I recommend it, and I'll show the site live in a little bit. And to kind of go into what categories of resources we have, because we offer quite a bit. How to integrate your care, offering guidance by phase. So guidance by, are you in treatment? Are you in remission? Really getting into the body terrain and what is that and how is that important through the cancer journey, but also in preventing cancer. Same with the 7 healing practices. These are self-care practices that we outline and provide evidence for that can really be, important pieces in the healing journey of cancer. And we have a large collection of complementary therapy reviews, which I'll be showing in a bit, but those are all evidence-based reviews of different complementary therapies. We have some resources for healthcare professionals, so a handbook for nurses and a professionals hub. We also, we know how important managing symptoms and side effects can be for people going through treatment. So we write about evidence-based ways to manage your symptoms and side effects. We also really think it's important to share the human element of this experience. So we have blog posts and stories from people who have had different experiences, going through their own cancer journey, to really kind of just see, how different it is for each person. And we also write about death and dying, as palliative care is a really important piece of cancer as well. So we like to touch on that as well. And healing overall, that's kind of the overall theme, but just to reiterate how important healing is in all of this. So just to kind of now get some grounding in the terms we're using. So what is integrative cancer care? So integrative cancer care is combining the best and most appropriate treatments for you from different medical approaches to ensure your quality of life and/or clinical outcomes. And so I think this image over here is really great at demonstrating that. So we have conventional care, complementary care, self-care, and it's really right where that overlap is that we think of integrative care. And I wanted to kind of just get into each of these terms as well, because it is important how we use language to describe these different kinds of therapies and approaches. So complementary is a therapy that's used in addition to conventional treatment. So that might be a botanical medicine, it might be a supplement, it might be doing, practicing yoga, or it could be, a whole array of different things, but it is in addition to conventional treatment, which again, conventional we're describing as, chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. What is kind of standard of care that someone might be receiving in a hospital or other medical setting. And integrative is the use of those complementary therapies, self-care, and coordination with conventional care, as I just discussed. And alternative, that would be when someone is choosing a therapy to use, like instead of conventional cancer treatment. So on CancerChoices, we are focused on integrative care and like really just kind of discussing the evidence for different complementary therapies. Taking a fully alternative approach, like there are risks involved with that. And so that's not the direction that we take our writing and work on CancerChoices. And overall, really, we hope that, we're able to help people with cancer and their caregivers answer these questions. What are my choices in healing and integrative cancer? And how do I really assess whether a complementary therapy or a self-care practice is really worth pursuing? Because it can be so overwhelming, to be first diagnosed and just to be navigating what's out there and what is really impactful. And, resources come into play, like where, if I have only this set amount of resources to pursue this, really what can I choose for most impact? And so we're really there to provide resources for each individual to navigate that. So yeah, again, kind of breaking down, how we share information about guidance on choices. So really, like, again, making skillful decisions. There's a lot of decisions that you have to make. And again, it can feel overwhelming, and like there are lots of decisions presented, and you feel rushed to find what's right for you. So we really try and provide some frameworks so you can kind of understand what are these different treatments, what are our recommendations on trustworthy resources, just, how are you making decisions, kind of just helping to provide support there. Again, like going through treatment, we know that symptoms and side effects and really just supporting the whole person health through treatment is so important. So we provide, reviews on different therapies that are supportive for different kinds of side effects, and really just trying to provide more resources on how to support whole health. And again, assessing complementary therapies is another, large piece of our website. And that's where you can go to learn about evidence-based options for treatments. And I'll be showing you what those look like as well, so you can get a feel for what kind of research and data we present on the site. So again, just breaking down, there's, so many resources available, but, making skillful decisions, how to find an integrative practitioner, what are some existing integrative oncology programs, what are the expert guidelines? Again, like breaking down what, affordability, access to care, kind of just really learning about the whole scope of pursuing an integrative care plan, because often this is something that you're designing on your own as you're going through care. I mean, unless there's an integrative oncologist right at the medical center that you're receiving treatment at, this is really a self-led process. And we know that that's, for those that are interested in an integrative care plan, that's the biggest piece, is really figuring out how do they put their plan together? How are they finding resources to support that? And we break it down as well, like going into, how are we defining traditional medicine versus naturopathic, and really just trying to help provide resources for the individual to educate themselves on what is this vast world of practitioners and care, as well as kind of point people towards what are their published, what protocols have been published as well, and what different approaches are different people taking. And again, just to kind of touch on healing, because that's really at the root of a lot of the work that we do. and how it's different from curing. So curing, is a medical treatment that ends a disease process. Healing is different. It can take place at any point in time. You can go through a healing journey without having cancer. You can go through a very deep healing journey, during, while you have cancer. And healing can take place at the physical level, emotional, mental, or spiritual. And the path to healing is unique for every person. There's not one way to heal. But we do feel that within the context of cancer, there are some common paths to healing cancer, and we like to share those on the website. So we have our 7 healing practices. Eating well, moving more, managing stress, sleeping well, creating a healing environment, sharing love and support. And what we really like to have people kind of touch on before they dip into all of these is exploring what matters now. So, that's a very personal exploration, like what really matters right now. And, what choices am I going to make based on what matters to me? And, on the site, we get into describing what does it mean, what are some ways of thinking about managing stress? What does that mean when we say manage stress? And what are some evidence-based ways of approaching that? But these are all practices that we feel are really important in the healing path of cancer for anyone to take a look at. And just to show you here, this is what it looks like on our website. If you go to like the Eating Well page, and we'll show what is it at a glance? How does it matter to you now? What are expert recommendations? What does the research say? Maybe some suggestions on specific foods, and how do you make changes to your diet? So these are the kinds of points that you can find for each of those healing practices that I've mentioned on the website. So the body terrain is a little bit different than the 7 healing practices. And I like to compare this to a garden. Last year I had one small garden bed where I planted some lettuces and they would sprout and they just wouldn't grow. And it's really hard just looking at the lettuce to know, like, well, what's going wrong? Could be a whole array of things. Is the sun not, shining bright enough? Did I not water it enough? Is there too much wind? Or, what's happening in the soil? So the body terrain is really, what's happening in that terrain soil of your body. And so really kind of taking a look at these is really helpful with a practitioner, but because they can do diagnostics to really get some data points on how, each terrain factor might be out of balance. But looking at, high blood sugar and body weight, inflammation and like oxidative stress for sure, hormone health, the microbiome is so important, how your immune system is functioning, the health of your blood. I know that becomes really important during cancer treatment, that, the health of your blood is quite important to be looking at. So we also provide information on all of these body terrain factors. And again, to really kind of, for an individual to get into body terrain, that's something that's helpful to work with a practitioner, but you can learn about what are all of these factors and what can I ask my doctor about. So we do have handbooks on a few of the topics, kind of the big ones that we find that are good to approach: body weight, high blood sugar and insulin resistance, and the microbiome. So these are more in-depth looks at each of these terrain factors. So lastly, I'm going to touch on our complementary therapy reviews. So these reviews, we're trying to look at, for example, like astragalus, the botanical medicine. You might be like, people might suggest that to you, or you might, hear that that's helpful for something, but we really want to kind of take a look at what is published in the science literature, what clinical studies have been done, like looking at the effect of this, of astragalus. What are the actual improved treatment outcomes that have been seen in these studies? You know, how has it been shown to optimize the body terrain? Are there studies showing that it might manage specific side effects? Really trying to get into what is this actually helpful for? What does the evidence really say that this therapy can be used for? And so this is when you go to our complementary therapy pages, just to give you a look at, you know, we've got quite a wide array of different therapies, and this is always being added to, you know, as you can imagine, there are, you know, hundreds of different therapies we'd love to be reviewing. So there's, you know, there's always something more to be looking at in complementary cancer care. And yeah, so there's everything from diets to energy therapies, to natural products, herbs, nutrients. Also, we do look at off-label, or as they're referred to, overlooked or novel cancer approaches. So these might be pharmaceutical drugs that are used already, but not for cancer. But there, you know, might be some evidence to show that they can be useful for someone with cancer. So we do look at what there is in the research as well for those. And just to kind of give you an overview of how we assess each of them. So we rate the therapies on a 0 to 5-point scale to assess how strong the evidence is regarding, you know, a whole list of questions. You know, these are questions that most people with cancer want to know about. Does it improve treatment outcomes? Does it improve my general health? How does it manage side effects and symptoms? Could it reduce the risk of recurrence or cancer itself, you know, as a preventative therapy? How are experts using it? Are there safety concerns? So those are all things we know are really important for people with cancer to learn about a therapy. And so we rate them on 0 to 5. So you can see that when you come to the specific therapy review. And if you click down, you can see more about, a little bit more about how did that score come to be? You know, what's the evidence behind that score? And again, like outside of that rating, then you can really dig deep if you'd like into what research and evidence is there. So we categorize our evidence by strong, good, modest, preliminary, weak, insufficient, or no evidence of effect, which is different than it not being effective, which we think is important to point out. And the evidence kind of strength is determined by the treatment effect seen in the study, what is the size of the study, what was the design of the study, you know, because an RCT is, you know, a much stronger study design than if there's just a single case study about, you know, a specific therapy being useful, maybe just like 1 or 2 individual cases. But we do, you know, still include that just so people can see what has been done, because for some of these therapies, there just hasn't, you know, there's not a lot of funding for research to see how effective they are, or there just hasn't been the rigorous research done. So we like to at least pull out those points so people can see what has been mentioned if it's an underexplored therapy. So to kind of finish out my presentation, I just wanted to kind of take you on a little journey through the website. So here's our homepage. As you can see, we have a lot of different resources, many of which I've just talked about. So now you're familiar with what's here. But so let's go visit our therapy reviews. So as you can see, this is the page that I just showed you, and you can filter over here by cancer type, symptoms. So there's different ways to kind of filter and see what comes up. And let's take a look at metformin. So that's one of those kind of off-label or overlooked cancer therapies that I mentioned. So you may or may not be familiar with this, but so metformin is a prescription drug used to manage diabetes. And there is some evidence that there are some benefits to lower the risk of cancer working with metformin. So I just wanted to show you this one because it's a quite in-depth review, and just to show you kind of the breadth of and depth of evidence that our reviews have. So up at the top, you can see at a glance, if you really just kind of want to get the takeaway bites of what is this and what might it be used for. Again, here's our rating, and I'll just show you what it looks like when you click see more. So then you can kind of see modest evidence of benefit for improving treatment outcomes. So this is going back to how we're categorizing the strength of the evidence, and so you can see there's a lot of modest evidence here, some preliminary evidence, but these are, so each of these bullet points is taken from a specific study, and so that's, as you can see, there's quite a bit of specific data you can go through. And kind of getting into more, how can metformin help you? What does the research say? Here, there's even commentary on our research methodology. So really explaining, what was our research process and why was it, unique with metformin, which I won't go into it here, but since metformin is something that's used for people with diabetes, there's a lot of studies just looking at the effects with people with diabetes. So if you wanted to totally go deep on the research methodology, there's a lot written here, so you can better understand how we did the work for this review. So I just wanted to show you, like what it might look like to be going through one of these reviews. This is, how the experts use it. So if we have any information on how experts are using it, we can find it here. So that's the end of my presentation. I do want to take one more just slide over here about how to get in touch. So please feel to reach out directly by email. We have a Facebook group. So if you'd like to engage with others who are interested in this, that's the space to go to. And our website, cancerchoices.org. So yeah, thank you so much, Dimple, again, for having us today.
Thank you so much, Christine, for walking us through this wonderful resource that I've been using since last 7 years, and it has guided me so wonderfully, not just me, but our healthcare professionals, our patients, community members, and everybody. This is the most credible and amazing resource that I have come across. And this session that you walked us through was extremely insightful and very informative. So I'm sure that we all have learned something new today. I remember that each time I went through it, I learned something new, something that we all can adopt in our daily lives. And Cancer Choices is a treasure of information, must-go resource for anybody going through cancer, either as a patient or caregiver or as a healthcare professional. And there will be at least 10 good things that you can learn from it every single day. So really appreciate you walking us through it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. I'm very happy and proud to introduce Dr. Michael Lerner today. He has been my mentor and my inspiration behind starting Love Heals Cancer and ZenOnco.io. When I lost Nitesh, I was lost how to proceed forward in my life. And there was a huge void all of a sudden. It was then that I met Dr. Michael Lerner in the US. He inspired me, and through that inspiration, I was able to gather the strength to bring the best practices in integrative oncology to India. Dr. Lerner has been a pioneer in integrative oncology. He has been doing extensive research on this over the last 5 decades. Michael is president and co-founder of Commonweal, the parent organization of CancerChoices. He is co-founder of Commonweal Cancer Health Program, healing circles that we conduct every Saturday, 5 p.m. We draw inspiration from Healing Circle Global and the new school at Commonweal and the collaborative on health and environment and cancer choices. He served as the principal consultant to the Office of Technology Assessment of the US Congress on its report, Unconventional Cancer Treatments. He received a MacArthur Prize Fellowship for contribution to public health in 1983. I'm very humble and very full of gratitude to you, Michael, for joining us today. And really looking forward to these next 20 minutes to hear directly from you. And I'm sure everybody is equally looking forward to this wonderful session. Over to you, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimple. And I apologize for being late. I have an interesting explanation. I got lost in meditation, and I thought I had my phone set to go off, but I think your audience will appreciate that meditation is a good place to get lost. So apologies, I'm grateful to be here. And I do want to say that I have a very deep connection with India as somebody who's been practicing yoga for 40 years and just a profound appreciation for the depth of Indian civilization and for the extraordinary wisdom and traditions of Ayurvedic medicine, and just that India really is, as you all know, but it's so easily forgotten, that really the original source of deep spiritual practice and tradition. And it seems to me that those spiritual and medical and philosophical roots of India are deeply relevant to cancer care and to the future of cancer care. And in fact, our cancer health program retreats, we've done 220 week-long retreats, were really originally based on a framework as a yoga retreat. So I just want to start with the fundamentals, which is that from my point of view, you are located in the heart of one of the deepest of all human traditions, and the power of that tradition should not be forgotten, along with all of the contemporary science and so on. I just wanted to start with that point.
Thank you.
So, where do you want to take us?
Yes, Michael, thank you so much for sharing this. We will start with the vision that we have at Commonweal and CancerChoices. And it's been 5 decades, 50 years of wonderful journey. So what has been the vision of Commonweal and CancerChoices? And since you started this, and has there been any change in the last 5 decades of CancerChoices?
Well, I would say, I mean, first of all, as Christine was saying, you can spend lifetimes learning this work, right? Obviously, mainstream conventional cancer therapies continue to move forward dramatically. So that's my brother is a senior oncologist at Boston University. So, you know, mainstream cancer therapy continues to move forward. Self-care is such a profound subject, and the power of our 7 healing practices is very profound, and those are inexpensive and accessible. And then the complementary therapies, they're just sort of an endless number of them to explore. And we think that one element which Christine mentioned that is widely overlooked is repurposed drugs, because those have been studied in mainstream medicine, and things like metformin, but I mean, aspirin, for goodness sake. You know, aspirin is actually an anti-cancer drug. And so we feel that that is changing constantly. Now, the frontier for us right now, we're working on a cancer bot using artificial intelligence with a profound colleague of mine, Nipun Mehta, who runs Service Space, of course. And we want it to be a bot unlike GPT-4, which scrapes the entire internet and therefore picks up a lot of erroneous information. Within Service Space, we control it completely. So the only thing we've downloaded into it now is the content of CancerChoices. So, but if you look ahead, the speed with which AI is moving forward, as you know, it's probably the greatest force on earth right now for economic development, and therefore artificial intelligence is going to move forward with incredible speed. And so one of the questions we're asking is, what will the impact of AI be on integrative cancer care? I mean, clearly in cancer care, it's going to move very rapidly conventional cancer therapy. What will its impact be on integrative cancer care, for better and for worse? So I'd say that's the area of the greatest change, that we're in the middle of an incredibly rapidly accelerating technological development.
Thank you, Michael. That's a wonderful vision. And as you rightly said, with advancement in technology, things are definitely going to evolve and build more and more helpful resources or credible information, or in the right way of spreading information to people. And I remember when I first met you, you told me to take care of two things in this journey. First is data, creating more and more evidence around integrative oncology. We have many survivors, some of them are stage 4 as well. And today we have a member, Rusia. She had stage 4 cancer with 1.5 months to live, and it's been now many months, and over 1 year she's here with us, almost recovered, almost cured. So these are the evidence that we are creating, and these are the inspiring stories that we have. You told about building more evidence around integrative oncology and using technology to leverage this so that we can help many others. Have you seen a change in the cancer care in last 40 years of working with cancer patients, something that brings hope and resilience to us?
Well, there have been tremendous changes over the last 40 years. There are certainly cancers that weren't, I mean, my brother, Adam Lerner, the oncologist, there are absolutely cancers that were not treatable 40 years before, or that people are living far longer with now. And there have also been, many other positive changes. But I do have to say that for the large principal cancers, there hasn't been as much improvement in conventional care as one would wish. And it's also a sad fact that, at least in the United States, that the way they evaluate new conventional drugs, the new drugs aren't always an improvement on older ones. And so the dynamic by which new drugs that are not necessarily actually better get introduced into the marketplace and then heavily promoted because the pharmaceutical industry makes greater profit on them than older drugs, and sometimes the older drugs are no longer available. There are dimensions of conventional care that are cause for concern. So I'd say there are many changes, but I think the biggest change is that when I started this work, integrative care was considered quackery. It was considered, outside the bounds. And I was told I was going to destroy my career and destroy Commonweal by exploring it. And now there are integrative cancer care centers in every major National Cancer Institute center in the United States. Now, they only focus on quality of life and, alleviating pain and things like that. So the mainstream continues to say, okay, it can improve quality of life, it can make people feel better, but they don't want to look at the evidence that it extends life. And so we have incredibly strong data that support the fact that skillful combination of conventional care, self-care, and integrative care can extend life, can slow the rate of recurrence. And that still remains outside of what the American Society of Clinical Oncology and the National Cancer Institute want to look at. So we're always pushing that frontier. And Dimple, if I may, because this goes back to my respect for India, I was agnostic about reincarnation until I began to look at some work that was being done at the University of Virginia on children who remember past lives. And this was done by a physician who's now died, Ian Stevenson, who traveled widely in India and around the world looking at children who reported remembering past lives. And he was absolutely objective and empirical. And the UVA, University of Virginia, now has a database of over 2,700 of these cases. And when I looked at this case evidence, Dimple, it just seemed to me, although I'd been open to it, it just seemed to me that this is very real. And so there are countries and civilizations where people are more and less open to this. But I think it has a powerful impact on issues of death and dying when one realizes that the soul is actually immortal, that the soul does continue. And I think that one of the frontiers that we're moving toward is this frontier of recognizing that that consciousness is not simply a byproduct of organic life, but that consciousness exists separate from organic life and continues. Now, I know that's highly controversial, but I just want to say, because that's been a core teaching in the Hindu tradition, that I have come to believe that's true. And that is at least as controversial as any other area of integrative care.
Wow. That's very amazing to hear, Michael. And I do believe in the fact that soul is always there. And have when I lost Nitesh, I could feel it after his passing. And through the vision of ZenOnco and Love Heals Cancer, we keep the vision and his spirit always alive. That's very amazing. This brings so much positivity to us, what you shared, knowing that we are not only advancing in medical treatment, but also towards better overall care and integrative oncology. As you rightly said, the acceptance might take some time in India also, as we see some oncologists are very much open to it, while others are still taking some time to understand and talk to patients openly about it. And it's our community, it's our patients and caregivers who goes to doctor and talk about it and questions and ask them about their inputs on the same. So it will take some time, but we are getting there. And it all starts with one. And thank you so much for starting with that. When we look at integrative medicine, we have different level of evidence in different therapies, and there are 100+ therapies in integrative oncology spectrum. How has this advanced over the last few decades? Do we see more data being gathered and more trials being done towards integrative cancer care?
Yes, I think so. And again, one of the factors there is how many, this is very interesting, is how many people from India especially come to the United States, become physicians or researchers, and then begin to research some of the substances involved with Ayurvedic medicine and so forth. And so that really does drive an increase in data on a whole wide range. You have people who are more open-minded to the impact of herbs and so on, who have all the tools to do the research, and they do it at MD Anderson and other places like that. So I think there's just a broad consciousness shift that both the awareness that the investment of billions of dollars in cancer medicine has yet to create breakthroughs on the major cancers, and the awareness that mind-body therapies and mind-body-spirit therapies and the vast public interest in supplements of all kinds, the widespread use of traditional Chinese medicine, which I believe can be very effective. And the data that we have on traditional Chinese medicine on acupuncture, honestly, I just don't believe it scratches the surface of how much impact I've actually seen it have on patients. So as Christine pointed out, there's a big difference between the absence of evidence and the evidence of absence. That's two very distinct things. So there are a lot of areas where there's an absence of evidence because, as Christine pointed out, there's very little profit in investing in the research. And yet, clinically, integrative practitioners see patients living far longer and with improved quality of life. So the thing that's so difficult to find is the skillful use of conventional therapies, where according to the specific patient's preferences, do they want to live at all cost? Do they want quality of life? What specific aspects of conventional therapies impede them from living the life they truly want to live? So if you're a musician and you take a therapy that causes you to lose sensation in your fingertips, that can be a huge deal. And the real question is, does the conventional oncologist or the mainstream oncologist look deeply enough into the spirit and soul and mind of the patient to have the conversations about what kinds of sacrifices they can live with and what kinds they don't, and to guide the conventional therapies accordingly. So yeah, I think there's a tremendous increase in understanding of these things. And I honestly think Christine is an incredibly good example of what new generations of scientists and researchers who are also interested in yoga and herbs, what they bring to this. And we're so pleased that Christine has joined us as program director to help us shape the future of Cancer Choices.
Oh, that's great to hear, Michael. And yeah, that's very right. Christine has been doing amazing work in building Cancer Choices along with the amazing team that we have at Cancer Choices. When we look at integrative medicine for cancer care, we have so many options available as we see on Cancer Choices in every category, be it eating well, moving more, energy, exercise and movement therapies, or herbs and supplements, or off-label drugs. So many times patients ask how to decide which is the best therapy to go for, because there are evidence in favor or may not be strong evidence always, or there can be many evidence in favor also always. So how do one decide? What would you suggest? What is the best mechanism or way to see which therapy may work for sometime the best, or how to even come to this decision metrics for one patient?
I'm sorry, was that a question to me, Dimple? I didn't hear
Yes.
the.
Yes, Michael. The question is, when we see there are hundreds of therapies and there are always evidence for and against both, even when we see the evidence for that particular therapy, how do we see among those 100 what therapies or medicines might be useful for me?
Yeah, that's the core question, Dimple, isn't it? And I'll tell you, I mean, obviously, if somebody has time to research it objectively, based on strength of evidence and everything else, which we try to help with because of, the way we assess these therapies, and my colleague Nancy Hepp is really responsible for this. Nobody goes as far as we do into evaluating them on all these different dimensions. And by the way, there was a study done by the director of the Office of Convention of Complementary Cancer Therapy at NCI, National Cancer Institute, and they looked at the different sites available on the web, and they listed our earlier site as the best available site. And we've just gone orders of magnitude beyond conventional cancer therapies with a new site. So we really, in all due modesty, are the best source on the web for these therapies. So, it's very difficult to compare all the therapies, but I think the way you narrow it down is what therapies are accessible to you in the country that you live in. Given your financial constraints, what can you afford? And so that tends to narrow it down. And then I think a very powerful dimension of this is intuition, because intuition is scientifically clear that it's real. We don't know where it comes from. That's quite a mystery. But we know the power of the placebo effect. And
Yeah.
therefore, I mean, that's scientifically demonstrated that the placebo effect is immensely powerful. And therefore, when you have a list of the accessible, affordable integrative therapies, and the patient decides what they intuitively feel is right for them, they engage the placebo effect, and the placebo effect is known to have an impact above and beyond the evidence. So I think staying aware of what our intuitions are, not only about a specific therapy, but about what matters in our life right now. You know, what is alive for us? What is our sense of our destiny or our purpose in being here at that point? And these are spiritual questions. And that goes back to the Indian tradition, who am I? Why am I here? Where do I come from? Where am I going? What is this life all about? And when we answer the questions about health and illness in the context of asking the most profound human questions, then I think we are guided in the direction that we should go.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing. That's very deep. And on the similar lines, I have a question. If you could answer that. Many times, caregiver comes to us and they are not able to accept the fact that they are going to lose their patient soon. And once upon a time, I was at the same place where, uh, caregivers, because they are not able to accept, we are always too attached to the physical form. We keep patients on ventilator or extend it as much as possible, be it life or be it the suffering that the patient is having at that time. How to navigate through those tough times. And also, we see that when caregiver lose their patients, they find themselves guilty, they have regrets, and they make themselves responsible for all the sufferings that they caused. Would you please share a few thoughts on that?
Yes, Dimple, I think you've pointed to a very profound thing, which is that sometimes the patient is ready to leave and has had enough suffering, but the family members are not ready to let them go. And so the suffering is extended, and incidentally, the cost of care is extended, and great suffering can happen. And I think that the navigation of that is critical. And from my point of view, it really requires on the family or caregiver's side, and by the way, that can happen with oncologists too, that they don't want to recognize it. So I think that staying with the focus on what the patient wants. Do they want to continue the fight? Are they ready to let go? And then supporting them skillfully in that choice. And by the way, this relates to the suffering dimension of that. And I don't know where this is in India, but I have to say that one of the big forward movements on end-of-life care and death and dying, first of all, is simply that more and more parts of the United States accept what they call compassion in dying, allowing people to receive the medications that allow them to die easily if they have less than 6 months to live. But the other dimension is the use of psychedelic substances, such as psilocybin or MDMA. And I have witnessed the most extraordinary shifts in attitudes toward death and dying in people who use psychedelics. I don't know where that is in India. I doubt that it's well received, but the benefits, and this has been studied scientifically at Johns Hopkins and elsewhere, the benefits of psychedelics in end-of-life care, and I would say the benefits of psychedelics responsibly used throughout the cancer journey can have profound effects on anxiety and depression and a sense of purpose and an expanded awareness of what consciousness is.
That's very helpful, Michael. In India, we do not have acceptance of it yet.
Yeah.
But having conversation, open conversation with patient and caregiver might be something which can be helpful to understand how they want to live or how they want to die. Thank you. Michael, what do you see as the future of integrative oncology? How do you feel it will proceed in years to come? We have come so far in last few decades. Do you see integrative treatment being part of mainstream medical treatment anytime soon?
Well, absolutely. Our goal and intention is that integrative cancer care becomes the standard of care in cancer. And it should become the standard of care because it improves quality of life and sometimes extends life and leaves both the patient and the family in a far better place and can also reduce costs of care because instead of going to, you know, pharmaceutical solutions, there are often integrative solutions that are less expensive and better. So I think this is coming, and it will come increasingly because patient demand is increasing and younger generations of people are simply more aware of it, both health professionals and patients. So I think it's coming, but it doesn't come as quickly as we would like. And Dimple, I just want to say that you personally have been such a profound force in India and Asia for moving us forward in this direction. So why we value our partnership so much is that you are able to reach large numbers of people and actually engage in practical dimensions of care and can serve as an example in the United States for how we can move forward following your example. So I just want to say it's a two-way partnership, and we're profoundly grateful for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael, for your kind words and appreciation. I'm very grateful that Nipun connected us because journey would have been journey was wonderful, and you were a source of inspiration, a guiding light for me to take that first step in the cancer care journey. So thank you so much. And Michael, as we come to our last question, which is about healing, how important is healing in the entire cancer care journey? We all know it's very important, but still when we have to make some choices, we give more importance to curing over healing, even if it comes at the cost of suffering for both patients and caregivers. You have been doing regular retreats for cancer patients and caregivers, physical retreats, as well as we have virtual healing circle as well. So how has been your experience of healing? At the same time, if you could share some experiences about how patients have recovered from it, and to equally give importance of healing in cancer care, on the path of cancer care.
Well, thank you, Dimple, for that question. And I do want to mention here, I'm not sure if Christine mentioned this, but healingcirclesglobal.org is an extraordinary access for healing work, and those circles are free. And so those circles cover cancer and a wide range of other sources of healing work. I honestly believe that that healing it's the greater power. Curing obviously is what we all seek to do, and I can't really say we can pick one and not the other, because a medical cure is a part of healing. If one can save a life or extend a life in a good way, that's a core dimension of healing. But healing is the movement toward wholeness at the physical, mental, and emotional and spiritual levels, which can happen both in recovery and in living with a disease or end of life. And so healing really is our movement into the mystery of what consciousness is and where we are. And that goes back to the ancient traditions of India, which understood consciousness and understood healing in ways that we are only beginning to recover in Western civilization. So I think part of the power of what you are doing, Dimple, in India is to be working in a field where both the highest quality research and medical care is available in India, very high levels of scientific competence. And at the same time, I hope that the philosophical and spiritual background of the great traditions is not lost.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing your experience and insights. And as we come towards the end of this wonderful session, I want to thank you, Michael, Christine, and Nancy, for joining us today and making this session extremely insightful. I'm so happy that we have been able to walk through the clinical evidence-based integrative oncology, and many of us will be able to talk to our doctors also about it in a much scientific and credible way. All of us are now more empowered to make evidence-based decisions in our journey of cancer care. We all knew bits and pieces that integrative oncology helps us, but now we all know the why of it. Thank you so much once again for sharing the best practices, and also when we navigate through different options of cancer care, how to take the best decisions, and at the same time, how to focus on the healing for ourselves as well as for our loved ones. Because as Michael says, we may not always control the outcome, or we may not always know what the outcome is going to be, but we can definitely ensure that the journey is smooth and the journey is wonderful. And that's how integrative oncology helps. It helps in improving quality of life, managing side effects, and extending life wherever it's possible. I'm very thankful to you, Michael, Christine, and Nancy for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for having us.
Thank you for your colleagues being with us, and to Christine and Nancy Hepp, both of whom are right at the heart of our work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We look forward to see you again soon. Bye, everybody.
We look
Bye-bye.
forward.